Okay, having a few computer problems, but I'm hoping I've sorted it out. Hi, and welcome to a new set of videos that I've put together. Thank you for all the good comments, the lovely comments that I've had about the Twelfth Night films. This is not going to be quite the same. It is going to be another A-level English literature text. It's going to be another Shakespeare. It's going to be Hamlet this time. And Hamlet, of course, a character written about more than any other character in the world, in history. I can remember at university there were shelves upon shelves of books about Hamlet. And this is really because he is such a fascinating character in terms of his psychology. Shakespeare creates for us a wonderful three-dimensional character who changes, who is set upon, who acts in many ways, and he's fascinating. And that's why many actors, actors want to play the role, and in fact recently even older actors have played the role. But really, my focus would be on Hamlet as a young man. He's a man who wants to go to university, wants to return to university. He's a troubled, almost sort of post-teenager, and we see his mind through the psychology of his words and his soliloquies. So these videos are going to focus on his soliloquies. But I'm going to start in Act 1, Scene 2 with the discussion with his mother of the word seems. If I can get this to scroll, why can't I get it to scroll? Right, well that wasn't very good, but I don't know what I've done there. See this conversation here about the word seems is very, very important in terms of what it raises about the themes that Shakespeare's interested in this play. Why seems it so particular with thee, says the Queen. Seems, madam, I know not seems. Nay, it is I know not seems. We are into the traditional theme in Shakespeare of appearance and reality. We are into the whole idea of hypocrisy that we see in Macbeth, of course, look like the innocent flower, be the serpent under it, or Twelfth Night, as I've already demonstrated, the idea of dressing in other clothes, the idea of playing a role. Very difficult to know what is inside the head from the surface, from what we present on the surface. And so Hamlet discusses the surface. My inky cloak. He's a bit of a goth here. He's dressed in black, customary suits of solemn black. The other forms that he's showing are sighs and tears, windy suspiration, nice sibilance there of forced breath, the fruitful river in the eye, the tears, the sighs. I'm not just looking miserable, and these outward shows, forms, moods, shows of grief. These are the outward things. I'm not just showing that. They're not showing me truly. They seem, for they are actions that a man might play, but I have that within which passeth show these but the trappings of the suits of woe, clothes, the clothes of woe. But I've got something within that is much deeper than that. And of course we also see the Shakespearean love of play acting or drama as a theme. These are actions that a man might play, rather like Macbeth, the poor player who struts and frets his hour upon the stage. And we know that the word act is vital in the play of Hamlet. Whether it is acting with the players, playing a role, pretending to be mad, or whether it is action in terms of doing something, which is of course what Hamlet finds so difficult to do. So in that little interchange with his mother, Shakespeare is introducing already two of his favourite themes. It also shows us that Hamlet is a thinking character. He's also very bitter about his mother. He's a teenager who doesn't get on very well with his mother. I can remember when I was a teenager, I didn't get on very well with my mother. It's what you do, because when you're a teenager, you're wrapped up in yourself and you think that everybody else is against you. That's quite normal for an adolescent. And he says pointedly here, when she says, I pray thee stay with us, go not to Wittenberg, he says pointedly, I shall in all my best obey you, madam. Stuff Claudius, I want to obey you. And then he's left on his own for his first soliloquy. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew. Well, I'm using the Gutenberg text here, which is free on the internet, so that's rather useful. I'm not going to get sued. And that says solid. It works as a metaphor. It's a brilliant metaphor. Solid going into a liquid, melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew, which is almost like a sort of spirit, a gas. And that works brilliantly. But other editions have it as solid, in terms of the fact that he feels sinful, he feels dirty, he feels mortal, and flesh is mortal and not, nothing to do with your spirit, your soul. And he wants to commit suicide already, or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon against self-slaughter. That's not, firing a big gun. It's the canon of God, God's rules, God's laws that are against suicide, against self-slaughter. He laments the fact that God, the everlasting, has fixed his laws against suicide. And we see how Shakespeare brilliantly makes this the conversation of a man, these internal thoughts. He's going backwards and forwards. He stops. He's got exclamation marks, against self-slaughter, stop. Oh God, exclamation mark. Oh God, exclamation mark. And then a list, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seems to me all the uses of this world. This isn't difficult language. This isn't complex. This is a thinking man who's pretty peed off with life. Weary, stale, flat, unprofitable, not difficult words, just miserable. And again, more stops. Fiont, oh fie, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. 'Tis an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Another stop. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely. Another stop. That it should come to this, exclamation mark. And so, nice metaphor there of life and the world being like a garden that's gone to seed. It's not been tended, it's not been looked after, and the plants, the grass, everything has grown so much that it's all just started seeding and germinating all by itself. He says, he almost talks about weeds here. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely, only, solely, just weeds. That it should come to this, exclamation mark. Another caesura, another stop, possess it merely. That it should come to this. But 2 months dead, another stop. Nay, not so much. Not 2. He's not really sure. He wants to sort of, was it 2 months? Was it 1 month? Oh, it just seems a short time to him. Not being particularly precise in his anger. 2 months dead, dash. Nay, not so much, not 2. So excellent a king, caesura, that was to this Hyperion to a satyr, caesura. My father was a sun god. He was the sun compared with Claudius, who's like a satyr, a grubby half goat, half man, interested in the physical pleasures and nothing else. And satyrs didn't come out very well in Greek times. Nay, not so much. So loving to my mother, that he might not beteem the winds of heaven visit her face too roughly. He loves her so much, loved her so much, that he would protect her face from the elements, so that the wind didn't roughen her cheek. And again a stop, another caesura. Heaven and earth, he cries. Must I remember why she would hang on him as if increase of appetite and groan by what it fed on? The more she got of him, the more she wanted. You could say appetite, feeding is not particularly loving. You could say that's rather a little too passionate, a little too base. But, it shows the extremes that Hamlet feels his mother felt for his father. And the extremes are shown again by more dashes. And yet, within a month, it's a month now, okay, right. Let me not think on. Oh, frailty, thy name is woman, right? It's important, of course, that you think about context, especially with Excel. I don't know about other courses, but if you're going to talk about context, you need to talk about God, you need to talk about the importance of God. We've had that already in this speech. And of course, the gender issues, the point that in the 16th, 17th century, the balance between the male and the female was very, very different from nowadays. And Hamlet is able virtually to abuse his mother and just say it's because she's a woman, because of the time he lived in. It reminds us of Viola in Twelfth Night. Our frailty is the cause, not we. But he goes back to his theme, a little month. Oh, it's getting shorter and shorter. A little month, or ere these shoes, before the shoes that she used for the funeral had worn out. She was like Niobe, a weeping, tragic heroine herself, all tears. Why she, even she, oh God, more breaks, more exclamation marks, more cries, curses. A beast that once discourse of reason would have mourned longer. Again, look at the philosophy of those times. Human beings, man, woman, humans, were seen as different from the beasts because they had reason, because they had God-given reason. The beasts don't have that, the animals don't have that, and so she became worse than a beast that wants discourse of reason would have mourned longer, married with mine uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I to Hercules. I'm not Hercules. I'm a thinking man. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a Greek hero. Within a month, again, exclamation, questioning the time. Ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing in her galled eyes, she married. Galled eyes, almost like poisoned. They're flushing because they're red. They're red with they're flushed with the weeping. But they were unrighteous tears, says Hamlet. They weren't true tears, he now says. And so there was a pretense. Oh, most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. Nice hissing there of that line. To post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. It's hissed out, that line. To post is to hurry, to rush, with such dexterity. And he suggests that she's incestuous. Well, again, something to research is to see what the canon, what the rules of the church said about marriage. Of course, nowadays it's not literally incest because it's not a blood connection to marry your husband's brother. But of course, Hamlet feels desperately betrayed by it. It is not, nor it cannot come to good, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue. He has to hold this within for now. But of course, the moment Shakespeare writes that, in come Horatio, Marcellus and Bernardo with news of the ghost of his father. And in my next little film, I will examine with you the response that Hamlet has to that.